In the infinite darkness of the universe, stars had been quietly enduring in their places for millions of years. Yet within the profound darkness, something long forgotten was awakening. The weapon, known as the Sword of the Galaxy, built by an ancient civilization centuries ago, was powerful enough to destroy the galaxy. It was recounted as a legend. Few believed in its existence, and even those who did had never managed to find it. Now, a signal suggesting the weapon's reappearance had been discovered. Samuel, the captain of the research vessel Starbreaker, fixed his eyes on the signal on the ship's screen. Could this signal possibly belong to the ancient weapon the galactic archaeologists had been searching for years? For a moment, he took a deep breath. The source of the signal was extremely distant and located in a perilous region known as the Deep Void. This area was filled with stellar storms, space debris, and bizarre magnetic anomalies. Entering it was akin to committing suicide. Nella, the team's intelligent strategist and researcher, was deep in thought. Samuel, if this signal truly belongs to the Sword of the Galaxy, we must do more than just find it. We might need to protect it or destroy it, she said. Samuel, studying the screen intently, replied, "We'll do everything we can to keep it out of the wrong hands. But first, we need to find it. We have to enter the Deep Void." Eric's, the team's technology expert, came over with excitement. "This is the clearest signal we've ever received. If it's genuine, it could give us a significant advantage. But the conditions in the Deep Void will seriously challenge our ship," he said. Nella looked at Eric's and said, "We understand the risks, Eric's. But we have no other choice. If this weapon falls into the wrong hands, everything will be over." Samuel stood up resolutely and looked at his team. "This mission is dangerous, yes. But we are trained for this. There may be other groups after this weapon as well. We need to act fast and get there before they do. Prepare yourselves. We're heading into the Deep Void," he said. The Starbreaker began its journey toward the Deep Void at near-light speed. Inside, silence prevailed. Everyone was focused on their tasks, but the same question lingered in everyone's mind. If they truly found the Sword of the Galaxy, would they be able to control it? After a while, the ship reached the border of the stellar storms. Massive magnetic anomalies, meteor fragments, and dense gas clouds appeared on the screens, and the constant energy waves crashing against the ship's shields were unsettling everyone. Hale, the senior captain and Samuel's right hand, broke the silence. "Surviving these storms will be a miracle. The ship's shields won't withstand these magnetic anomalies for long," he said. Samuel was calm but determined. "Hale, you've been piloting this ship for years. You know this area better than anyone. If anyone can get us through this dangerous region, it's you," he said. Hale took a deep breath, sat down in his chair, and took control of the ship. "All right then, hold on tight. This will be tougher than ever," he said. The ship began its jarring journey. Stellar storms seemed to try to bend the ship like a piece of clay. Alerts flickered continuously on the screens, and energy levels dropped to dangerous levels. Suddenly, a meteor fragment hit the ship's shields, causing a jolt that shook the entire vessel. Eric's looked at the control panel anxiously. "The shields can only hold for a few more minutes. If we can't find an exit, we'll be lost in this storm," he said. Samuel fixed his gaze on Hale. "Is there an exit?" he asked. Hale, with sweat-drenched hands, quickly adjusted the ship's direction. "The heart of this storm is the most dangerous area. But if my calculations are correct, there should be a gap there. We need to get through it in just a few seconds," he said. Tension on the ship reached its peak. Everyone held their breath, trusting Hale's calculations. As the ship accelerated towards the storm's heart, it was suddenly illuminated. A gap in the storm had pulled the ship in. After a few seconds of intense shaking, the Starbreaker reached a quiet area. The storms were now behind them. Nella sighed with relief. "We made it," she said. However, this silence would not last long. The ship's sensors suddenly started beeping again. Eric's looked at the screen and said, "This is impossible. There's another ship following us." Samuel quickly looked at the screen. A Noxian warship was trailing them. The Noxians were among the galaxy's most ruthless marauding civilizations, known for weapon smuggling, theft, and destruction. Samuel turned to his team. "Prepare yourselves. Noxians don't give up easily. If they're following us, it means they're after the same weapon. We can't complete this mission if we don't shake them off, he said. Hale swiftly maneuvered the ship as the Noxian warship closed in. As explosions and laser fire shook the ship, Samuel and his team were trying to strategize against the Noxians. Escape, fight, or hide. Their options were limited, but their time was even more constrained. Samuel calmly issued commands. Eric's, activate the ship's weapon systems. Nella, strengthen the shields. Hale, head towards the nearest wreckage. We might find a hiding spot there, he said. As the team quickly moved to their tasks, Samuel thought to himself, this is just the beginning. If the danger is this intense, we are truly after something powerful. But the Noxians were not about to let them go easily. As the Starbreaker sped towards the debris field, the ominous presence of the Noxian warship trailing them continued to cast its shadow over the crew. Each explosion and laser blast heightened the tension aboard the ship. Samuel and his team were now engaged in a strategic battle for survival. Hale maneuvered the ship among the massive metal fragments of the debris, while Nella scrutinized the situation on the screen. We can hide here for a while, but Noxians are very clever. They won't take long to find us, she said. Samuel glanced at Nella. That's why we need to stay one step ahead. We're not just going to hide here. We're setting a trap, he said. Eric's immediately leaned over the control panel, his face showing concern. A trap? Against the Noxians? Samuel, that could be suicidal, he said. Samuel replied in a calm tone. We have no other option. If we don't neutralize them, they'll reach the weapon before us. There will be no peace left in the galaxy, he said. Nella, admiring Samuel's determination, asked, What kind of trap are you thinking about? Samuel smiled. There's a powerful magnetic field within the debris. If we lure the Noxian warship into this field, its systems will short-circuit. We just need to strike at the right moment, he said. The Noxians were closing in quickly. Their ship navigated through the large debris pieces, searching for the Starbreaker. Eric's took a deep breath as he watched them from the screen. They're getting closer, very close, he said. Samuel shot a sharp look at Eric's. Prepare the weapons. You know when to fire, he said. Hale tried to keep the ship steady, his hands trembling. He mumbled, We can do this. Suddenly, the Noxian ship appeared right in front of them, gliding through the debris field. Nella held her breath and asked, Is it time now? Samuel checked the ship's radar. Wait a little longer, he said. The Noxian ship slowly approached the magnetic field. The anticipation was palpable. Eric's hands hovered over the controls, filled with anxiety. Finally, Samuel shouted, Now! Eric's quickly activated the weapon systems and fired a powerful laser at the Noxian ship. The laser struck the ship's shields but did not destroy them. However, the attack had the desired effect. The Noxian ship veered towards Samuel and his team. At that moment, it entered the powerful magnetic field. Hale watched on the screen as the Noxian ship systems began to fail. He smiled and said, We did it. The Noxian ship was heavily damaged and unable to maneuver. The magnetic field had crippled its energy systems. Samuel took a relieved breath. We can leave them behind now. We need to get out of this area immediately, he said. However, things never go as planned. Eric's, looking at the radar again, turned pale. Samuel, there's another ship, he said. Samuel's eyes widened in horror. Impossible. There should be only one Noxian ship here, he said. Nella examined the screen. This isn't a Noxian ship. It's much larger. And much more dangerous, she said. The new ship belonged to a legendary warrior race known as the Varnal, who were said to be the true guardians of the weapon. According to legends, the Varnal's sole purpose was to protect the weapon and, if necessary, destroy everything to keep it safe. As the Varnal ship approached slowly, Samuel realized they were facing a formidable threat. The Varnal are here. This is not good, he said. Hale, thinking quickly, maneuvered the ship while Nella tried to understand the implications of the encounter. If this ship is here, it means the weapon is indeed nearby. And the Varnal will want to find it before us, she said. Samuel, trying to gather his thoughts, saw the Varnal ship preparing to fire a powerful energy beam. The beam passed close to their ship, destroying a debris piece. We can't fight them. But escaping won't be easy, he said. Eric's, panicked, pressed buttons on the screen. Our weapons might be ineffective against the Varnal. Their technology is far more advanced, he said. Nella paused and looked at Samuel. We should try to communicate peacefully. If we tell them we intend to destroy the weapon, maybe they'll let us go, she suggested. Samuel took a deep breath. It's a risk, but we have no other choice. If they attack, they'll destroy everything with us. I'll try to reach them, he said. He activated the ship's communication system and spoke with a determined tone. This is Captain Samuel of the Starbreaker. We are on a peaceful mission to destroy the weapon. Please do not fire. There was a moment of silence. The crew held their breath, waiting for the Varnal's response. Samuel quickly formulated plans in his mind. If a peaceful resolution wasn't possible, war would be inevitable. Finally, a cold voice echoed from the Varnal ship. Destroy the weapon. We are its guardians. You have no right to destroy it, the voice said. Samuel wasn't surprised. He knew these beings wouldn't be easily persuaded. The power of this weapon is immense. In the wrong hands, it could annihilate the entire galaxy. We all know that. Please trust us, he said. The Varnal commander's voice was stern and threatening. We will not negotiate. If you approach the weapon, we will destroy you, the voice declared. As Samuel pondered their next move in the tense silence, the Varnal ship prepared to fire once again. Eric's voice trembled. We don't have much time. They're firing. As a massive energy beam from the Varnal ship headed toward the Starbreaker, Samuel had only one choice left, to escape or face destruction. Hale, get us out of here at full speed, he shouted. Hale accelerated the ship to maximum velocity, while the Varnal's energy beam passed by, obliterating another debris piece. As the Starbreaker hurtled away, behind them was only chaos, danger, and an uncertain future. Starbreaker was racing away from the massive Varnal ship at maximum speed, with the crew's hearts on the verge of exploding from tension. The pursuing fire never relented, leaving large debris in their wake. Hale was maneuvering skillfully to avoid enemy fire, but it wasn't sustainable for long. Nella, sweating and gripping the control panel, said, We can't keep this pace much longer. The engines will fail. Samuel, frowning, responded, The Varnal aren't playing games. They'll do whatever it takes to catch us. His eyes focused on the rapidly changing data on the screen. But there's only one escape route. Eric's looked at Samuel in disbelief. What do you mean? We're on the brink of death. If there was an escape route, we'd have used it by now, he said. Samuel took a deep breath. Look ahead of the debris field. There's a black hole. If we can utilize its gravitational pull, the Varnal ship won't be able to follow us, he said. Nella's eyes widened as she grasped the gravity of the suggestion. A black hole? We can't survive that. If we get too close, we'll be obliterated, she said. Samuel continued calmly. With perfect timing, we can skim the edge of the black hole. The Varnal won't be able to maneuver as quickly. It might disable their systems. Eric's placed his hand on his forehead. It's a risky plan, but we have no other choice. If the Varnal catch us, the blade falls to them, and the galaxy will be doomed, he said. Hale took a deep breath and steered the ship towards the black hole. Everyone hold on tight. This will be the toughest part, he said. As Starbreaker hurtled towards the black hole, Samuel's eyes never left the screen. The Varnal ship continued to pursue, targeting them with powerful energy blasts. But as the black hole's powerful gravity approached, both Starbreaker and the enemy ship were engaged in a fierce struggle. The black hole spun in the vast darkness of space with all its grandeur, while the ship's screens were filled with increasing warnings. Nella, anxiously glancing at Samuel, said, We're getting too close. If our timing is even a second off, we'll be destroyed. Samuel's voice was steady. Hail now, he commanded. Hale sharply veered the ship to the left. Starbreaker began to slide along the edge of the black hole, spinning rapidly. The ship's engines strained to avoid being pulled in. At that moment, the Varnal ship struggled with the same maneuver. The black hole started to draw the Varnal ship in. The Varnal ship, attempting to resist the black hole's immense pull, couldn't withstand the massive force. The ship's outer hull began to tear apart. Massive metal fragments were drawn into the black hole. As Samuel and the crew watched the Varnal ship's destruction on the screen, they took a deep breath. Eric slumped into his seat, saying, "We did it. We really did it." Nella, looking at the ship's screens, said, "But this is only the beginning. The Varnal may be gone, but the Sword of the Galaxy is still a threat." Samuel leaned back in his seat, closing his eyes. "True. But now we have a real chance to find and destroy the sword. We've won this battle, but the galaxy's fate is still in our hands," he said. As Starbreaker moved safely away from the black hole, the crew felt a slight relief, but they knew the journey was far from over. Just as things seemed to settle, the radar began to register new activity. Eric's face suddenly grew serious. "What's this? Another ship?" he asked. Samuel frowned as he looked at the screen. "This isn't another Vonal ship. This is something entirely different. The incoming ship has a structure unknown to anyone," he said. Nella examined the slowly appearing ship on the screen. "This isn't even Noxian. Who are these people?" she asked. The ship appearing on the screen seemed to materialize out of nowhere. Black and gray in color, it featured a technology unseen in the galaxy. The ship's front was adorned with predatory sharp lines. At that moment, a single thought crossed Samuel's mind: another force searching for the sword. Hale, noticing the ship approaching rapidly, said, "This is a new threat. We shouldn't attack until we know what they want from us." Samuel tried to open communications with the new arrival, but received no response. "This ship refuses to communicate. Either they are here to destroy us, or to find the sword before us," he said. Eric's, impatiently rubbing his hands, said, "What do we do now? If they attack us, we won't be able to handle them. Their technology seems far superior to ours." Samuel, trying to collect his thoughts, said, "We can't underestimate this unknown ship. We'll try a peaceful solution first. If they try to destroy us, we'll go on the defensive." The incoming ship approached Starbreaker closely, remaining motionless for a while. The entire crew, holding their breath as they watched the massive structure on the screen, suddenly heard a cold metallic voice from the ship. "You're searching for the Sword of the Galaxy." "So are we." Samuel, trying to understand who was speaking, asked, "We don't know who you are. Finding the sword is dangerous and could destroy the galaxy. What are your intentions?" The voice was cold and firm. "Our goal is to protect the galaxy. But this protection depends on who holds the sword. We will use the weapon to maintain the balance of the galaxy. If you cooperate with us, we can protect you as well." Nella, surprised by these words, turned to Samuel. "Cooperate with them? These people want to use the sword. That means destroying the galaxy," she said. Samuel took a deep breath and made his decision. "We can't trust them. The sword in any power's hands would be a catastrophe for the galaxy. We have to stop them," he said. The commander of the incoming ship spoke with an impatient tone. "Decide quickly, or we'll consider you among the first beings the sword will destroy." Samuel fixed his gaze on the screen with determination. "We will never surrender the Sword of the Galaxy to you," he said. The mysterious ship suddenly sprang into action. Activating its weapon systems, it began to attack Starbreaker. Samuel and the crew were prepared for this sudden assault. Hale rapidly maneuvered the ship to evade, while Eric's activated the weapon systems. Nella, analyzing the situation with panic, said, "Winning this battle will be extremely difficult. Their technology seems far superior to ours." Samuel, looking at the control panel with tension, shouted, "But we won't give up. If they find the sword, everything will end. We have no choice but to win this battle." And thus, an uncertain battle among the stars was about to begin. The Starbreaker was struggling to withstand the massive assaults, its surroundings filled with explosions. Hale maneuvered the ship at top speed to avoid the attacks, aware that they were falling behind against the enemy's superior technology. Nella read the damage reports from the screen. "Our shields are weakening. We can't hold out much longer," she said. Eric's reactivated the weapon systems and began counterattacking. "How much time do we have?" he asked as the sounds of explosions echoed through the ship. Samuel, trying to keep the ship on a fine line, kept his eyes fixed on the radar screen. "At most 5 minutes, maybe less," he said. The enemy ship performed circular maneuvers around the Starbreaker, attacking from every angle. However, thanks to Hale's skillful evasions, the ship continued to fight. But it was clear that they were racing against time. Any moment, the enemy's attacks could destroy them. Samuel took a deep breath and made his decision. We have only one chance. We can't win this fight with this ship, but we can destroy the sword, he said. Nella looked at him in shock. What do you mean? We haven't even found the sword yet. Even if we do, destroying it, that's nearly impossible, she said. Samuel looked at the control panel and took a heavy breath. This sword has the power to destroy star systems. If we can find the right frequency, we might be able to activate it and reverse its power. But this process will cause a massive explosion. So, we either perish with the sword or save the galaxy, he said. Erix frowned at this. So, we're going to die, is that it? He asked. Samuel looked into the eyes of his team, speaking with determination. If this sword falls into the wrong hands, it's not just us that will be destroyed, the entire galaxy will be. This is a matter of sacrifice. It's either us or the galaxy, he said. Hale managed to increase the distance between them and the enemy ship. If we're going to activate this sword, we need to be quick. The enemy is preparing to attack again, he said. Samuel directed the ship rapidly towards the location of the sword. When the ancient temple where the sword was located appeared on the map, everyone fell silent. This temple was known to be a creation of the Serapthus, one of the oldest and most mysterious civilizations in the galaxy. Nella focused on the screen. We've found the sword. It's right there, she said. Samuel quickly maneuvered the ship to land on the temple. We need to find and activate the sword. The sword will self-destruct.
Erix, Nella, come with me.
Hale, keep the ship ready, he said. As the team entered the temple, they saw the sword standing in a massive chamber. The sword seemed almost alive, emitting lights and creating an energy wave around it. Erix shuddered as he approached the sword. Is this thing really powerful enough to destroy the galaxy? He asked. Samuel touched the sword and said, Only in the wrong hands, but we will use it for the right purpose. Nella began analyzing the energy waves of the sword with her device. I found the frequency. But activating this power, there will be no turning back, she said. Samuel took a deep breath and closed his eyes. I'm proud of all of you. The galaxy will remember our sacrifice. Now, let's activate the sword, he said. At that moment, the enemy ship approached the area of the temple. Hale communicated from the ship, The enemy is on the move again. They will try to stop you. Samuel raced against time as he activated the sword. The energy waves began to rise, causing the temple to shake. The sword's power increased, threatening to destroy the temple. As the enemy ship began attacking the temple walls started to crack. But at that instant, the sword released a massive wave of energy that engulfed the galaxy. The sword's power first enveloped the temple and then the enemy ship, destroying them. Samuel and his team exchanged one last look and smile as they were enveloped in the energy. And then, it was all over. After the explosion, silence enveloped the galaxy. The sword's power had been completely erased, and everything, including the temple, was reduced to ashes. The enemy ship had also been entirely destroyed by this force. But the galaxy was saved. Samuel and his team left behind only a memory. They were the heroes who sacrificed their lives to destroy the sword of the galaxy. The galaxy would remember their sacrifice and preserve their legacy. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye, see you in the next story.